What was the moment you realized that your husband had a rating that was lower than what he actually deserved?
Basically, was kicking myself because I'm like, if you qualified for this all this time, number one, why didn't the Department of Defense go ahead and set you at that? And number two, why is it that basically you fought for the country and now you're having to fight to get taken care of after going through everything for them?
All right. Well, thanks for coming to talk with us. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself, your name, and how you're related to this conversation in terms of VA disability claims?
Yep. So my name is Brandi, and my husband is a veteran, and we went through Vital Veterans when my husband was at 80% for about 13 years. And it's a little bit of a long story, but basically we fell into Vital Veterans from a referral. My doctor actually let us know about VVC, and that's how we came to utilize them. And it was one of the best decisions ever. It made it so easy.
I love it. I love it. So, Brandi, tell me, when you were navigating the VA disability system as a spouse, what was your understanding of the VA disability system, and what did that reality turn out to be?
So I'm a researcher. I look up everything. The paperwork is horrible, just like whenever you're in the military trying to fill out paperwork for leave. So when I looked at it, it was very frustrating. And I basically procrastinated on it when we put in our intent to file. So because it was just daunting, because I knew if something wasn't filled out right, if something wasn't written properly, we would get it kicked back, and it would just be a whole thing. And life was happening, and the time and the focus just wasn't there.
Now, what would you say to that spouse that is thinking about assisting their veteran in the VA disability system? What would you say to them in terms of the intimidation factor? Because it is intimidating. It's very confusing. There's a lot of aspects. What would you say to that spouse that is almost given up because of how complex the system is?
A spouse that's almost given up, I would definitely gear them towards VVC. We were actually offered a different company to go through, but the stipulations were too high for us. So a spouse that was about ready to give up on paperwork, I would just say, go to them. They do it all for you. Don't worry about it. To a spouse that says, oh, I can do this, I would say good luck, and I'll talk to you in a few months.
That's good. That's good. Now, what was the moment you realized that your husband had a rating that was lower than what he actually deserved, and how did that make you feel?
When I realized it, I, basically was kicking myself, because I'm like, if you qualified for this all this time, number one, why didn't the Department of Defense go ahead and set you at that? And number two, why is it that basically you fought for the country and now you're having to fight to get taken care of after going through everything for them and for the country? Like you did everything that, you followed all the rules, you did everything that they said, and they say, oh, okay, well, you're injured. Okay. And they don't tell you anything. And then all of a sudden, oh, you actually qualify for things? Interesting. Why isn't it told?
Right. Now, for people who are listening, a lot of times they don't actually grasp the full picture that sometimes there are severe injuries that veterans have gone through and yet still not rated at 100%. Could you tell us a little bit about your husband's in-service related injuries and what he was rated at, and how that gap really didn't match the full picture or scope of what he had gone through?
Yep. So my husband was rated at 80% when he got out, and then before we met, they tried to actually lower him. So then he told me the story about having to fight and go back. They kept it at the 80. And then when I looked at everything, and it's not just the injury itself, it's how it affects my husband every single day. Emotionally, physically, mentally, all of it. And a lot of times people don't realize that, the VA, whether they put it in giant bright neon sign that actually is something that they in legislation qualify veterans for. That is something that is considered to be rateable. And I said, oh no, we need to talk about this, because it wasn't just the injuries, even though those got worse and worse and worse. And, just the frustration and disappointment seeing in him from losing a career due to an injury, having to get med stepped out, and then just not only the aftermath of the injury and how it progressed, but also the emotional side of it and the aspect of just, in dealing with everyday life.
Now, what changed when you started working with Vital Veterans Consultants? What was different about that experience going from confused to now I got somebody in my corner?
So, and we hadn't tried up to that point. So my story is I was pregnant with our youngest, and I went on bed rest at 18 weeks. So then what happened was I was hospitalized for 10 days. They got everything calmed down so she wouldn't come. And then when I had to see my doctor, right after getting out, my doctor said, you are not allowed to stress. And I said, well, but we have our intent to file put in. It's almost at a year. And she said, look, my husband knows this veteran. My husband knows the guy. He's a veteran, and he helps other veterans. I was like, okay. And so when my husband called, I was like, yeah, we got to. I said, and the upfront, it wasn't even the VVC's fee. It was, the the doctors that we work with. And it wasn't even VVC's fee. I said, oh yeah, I don't even care at this point. I'm not allowed to stress. And the fees wasn't even that bad, especially he's been at 80% for 10 years. So that little bit of a fee is not going to matter. So, went through it. Then, my daughter came happy, healthy, and then we got our decision. And actually, this decision came back denied at first. And my husband goes, "Oh no!" I said, "No, just in correlating and everything, coordinating and speaking with Mr. Baldwin, Mr. Ken." I said, "They know what they're doing." I said, "It doesn't read right." So they called. They said, "Nope, this is what we're going to do." And then 2 months later, we got our 100%. So it literally was. They aren't just, oh, you didn't get 100. Okay, well, good luck. Mm-hmm. No, they're like, no, we're going to keep fighting.
Wow.
They're in our corner. So
that's amazing.
Anyway, that's my story.
That's great. So just to clarify, you went with Vital Veterans, mm-hmm. you got denied, and Vital Veterans was still with you mm-hmm. to the end point, to the destination, to the journey.
Yep, to our goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. Yep. What would you say to somebody who says, hey, I'm exploring other companies, I'm exploring other organizations. Mm-hmm. Why is Vital Veterans Consultants different from anybody else?
I think because they communicate with you. They're always there to try to answer your questions, and they make it so easy. So I'm the paperwork person in the family. My husband is not. So whenever he started with VVC, I was like, well, what did they have you do? Oh, they just had you do this and this. Well, we already did that. 5-10 minutes, that's it. And then I said, well, do they need this? Nope, they actually already got everything they needed. And I was just like, okay, this was great. It was just so easy. And then just from some stories I've heard from other veterans, different companies, they lack follow-up. They lack getting back with you. And sometimes they just say, oh, there's nothing more we can do. Good luck, have fun. And then that makes the veteran feel like, oh, well, then I guess that's it, because I went through a company and they're telling me, and they specialize in this, oh, well, that's it. We can't do anything more. They give up. And I would definitely tell people, we don't give up. Like, they don't give up. VVC does not give up on you.
I love it. What would you say to that veteran or their spouse? They're listening to you right now. They're thinking about messaging Vital Veterans Consultants. They're thinking about scheduling that free strategy call, mm-hmm. but they're still on the fence. What would you say to persuade them right now in the moment if they were right in front of you?
I would say visualize yourself a year from now or even shorter, and I promise you will know that would have been the best decision you would have made. just for your family with how fast everything goes nowadays. Everybody has all these different busy, everything's busy, everybody's busy. This is one less thing you'll have to worry about.
That's great.
All right.
Thank you.